All right, this week, UFC London is taking place. The UFC go back to London for the second event of this year. Of course, I'll be there. I'm commentating. I'm very, very proud to be doing so. Tremendous main event. Tom Aspinall taking on Curtis Blades and a stacked undercard. This really is a tremendous fight card. So tune in, check it out. But that's not what this video is about. This video is about the pros and the cons of fighting in your hometown. Now, of course, fighters, they dream about that. You know, obviously the UFC is a very international sport, you know, predominantly in America, but all over the place. I was just recently commentating in Singapore. I fought in Hong Kong. I fought in Macau, Sydney, Australia, Brazil, Canada, all over the place. But you want to fight at home. You want to be the hometown hero. You want to have 20,000 people all on your side, screaming for you, going crazy. You are the man or the woman of the hour. It's a great feeling. But I tell you what, it comes at a price, because everyone's coming to see you. So like, as if the nerves weren't bad enough already, if you're the main event, and you're the marquee guy, you're the hometown guy, and everyone's there, they're coming to see you. Yes, you got nerves of performing, you want to win the fight, you don't want to get hurt, you don't want to get injured, but you don't want to let everybody down, right? And that is something that I used to take very, very seriously. Now, I'm not a big sports guy, but if you imagine, if you love football or whatever sport it is, when you go to watch your favorite team at football, let's say you go into a football match, you want your football team to win. When you lose, you go home deflated. You go home a little annoyed.
What? No, it's over. No. That big deal. We're gonna have Garrett.
And that was always the last thing that I expected. That's the last thing that I wanted, for people coming, parting ways with their hard-earned money to watch me at a fight. I want them to go home happy. So that did add a little bit of pressure. But still, outside of that, there is a lot of other things going on in between here and just in general when it comes to distractions. Now, one of them, of course, tickets. Oh my God, everybody wants a ticket. The amount, when I used to fight at home, I used to get so many messages. Hey Mike, how's it going? Trying to get some tickets. Don't worry, I'm happy to pay for them. But could you put me in contact with someone that can get them? And I would get so many. I'd be like, oh my God, if you're happy to pay for them, why are you coming to me? Go to ticketmaster.co.uk. Go to the UFC website, whatever it is. Don't ask me. Do you not think I've got enough things to do? You know? But the reality is, because we do enjoy the moment and we are happy to get the support, we do try and do that, and it becomes a huge stress. When I made my UK debut in Manchester, UFC 70 against Elvis Sinisic, I got so many requests for tickets, but I wanted to help them out. This was the day before the weigh-ins, and I'll never forget, because there were so many. They gave me money for tickets, then I've got to get the tickets, I've got to give the UFC the money, get the tickets, but then I've got to give the tickets to the people. So I remember at one point I had all the tickets laid out, and I've got to call them up, I've got to give them a text message, I'm going to get these tickets to them and all the rest of it. It was a nightmare, an absolute nightmare. So I said to myself after that, that is it. I am never, ever accepting the responsibility of getting tickets for friends or family ever again. Now, of course, another thing is the additional PR. With the spotlight comes great pressure. With great power comes great responsibility, you might say. No, listen, if you're the main event, it is your job to promote the fight, okay? It is a product that the UFC are trying to sell. And I, or the fighter in question, is a part of that product. So you want this to be successful. If you fight as a professional fighter and it doesn't do well, if it doesn't sell out, if the viewing figures aren't very good, your product as a fighter is not doing well. So I used to take that very, very seriously. Now, of course, PR is a distraction, okay? Doing interviews is a pain in the ass. And a lot of the time, you got to repeat all the same questions. But it's just as important for your brand as a fighter and in terms of promoting the event and you being a success. If nobody knows about what you're doing, no one's going to know. Simple as that. If you don't educate them, if you don't tell them, if you don't do the interviews on radio, TV, all the rest of it, how are you expecting them to know? Okay, you've got to get them excited. You've got to talk about the fight. You've got to predict a tremendous victory.
Water is wet, fire burn, and I'm going to beat Michael Bisping.
Listen, when I was training for fights, I remember I would train in the morning, I would come back, I would have 2 hours of interviews, back to back, non-stop, one after the other. I'd go for a nap, I'd go train, I'd go to bed. And the next day, I'd do it all over again. Now listen, that's a pain in the ass. But as I say, it's a necessary evil, okay? This is your brand. You want your brand to be as big as possible. You want more people to know about you. You want your fights to be a commercial success. So the PR, whilst being a nightmare, is a critical part of it. It is a necessary evil. I see a lot of fighters refusing to do it. I see a lot of fighters bitching about doing it. Hey, listen, relish those moments, because guess what? When you're retired, no one's going to give a fuck and you're not going to be asked for interviews anymore. So get as many of those in the can while you can. Now, as I said earlier, you do want the fans, the buying public, to go home happy with the result that they wanted. And I'll never forget UFC 120, Bisping versus Akiyama. Yes, I just referred to myself in the third person. Sorry, that was the name of the event. That took place at the iconic O2 Arena. That's where the fights are going down this weekend with Tom Aspinall and Curtis Blades. And obviously, when you're the main event, you're the last to go out there. Okay, now, the UFC events in England, they're always a big showcase for the UK talent. And we had a lot of UK talent, but sadly, they weren't getting the results that they wanted. And if I'm not mistaken, up until I went out there and fought Akiyama, everybody had lost so far. And I'll never forget, Dan Hardy was the co-main event. And I was sitting in my waiting room, in my dressing room. I'd warmed up, I'd done some, pads. You do some stretches, you do some kicks, the anxiety of getting the best of you. You hear the woos and the ahs and all that type of stuff. And you're like, whew, and you're feeling good. Should I hit pads a little bit more? Oh no, I'm good. Rest. Drink some water. Do I drink some water? Check my phone, text my kids. Oh, let's hit pads some more. Let's stretch. No, I've got to sit down. You're just doing all these somersaults in your mind. And then Dan Hardy was fighting Carlos Condit. And we all know how that one ended. They both threw a left hook right at the exact same time. They both landed, but Carlos's had a little bit more sting. And sadly for Dan Hardy, he knocked him out cold. And I'm sitting there waiting to go out for my fight against Akiyama, and then in comes Dan Hardy being supported up by his two friends, and he had just been knocked out cold. And this is the funny thing, it's not a funny thing. When you get knocked out, even though you come around and you're making sense, you're talking, you don't know what day it is. And poor old Dan, you could see that he was definitely in that state. He didn't really know what was going on. I gave him a fist bump. I said, hey, listen, man, we've all been there. Happened to me when I got knocked out against Dan Henderson. You'll be back. You'll be fine. But of course, then after that, I've got to shut that off and walk out there and be the tough guy, be the main event, and go out there and then get a victory, because the whole of the UK had come there to the O2 Arena that night and nobody had won a goddamn thing. So it was up to me to perform and give them the performance what they wanted to see. So as I say, a little bit of extra pressure as well. Now, of course, when you're the hometown favourite, of course, you get the crowd on your side. And that can be a gift and a curse, you know what I mean? Some people don't know how to deal with that. But for me, it was always a gift, because for example, like when I fought Anderson Silva, when he hit me with that knee at the end of the third round, right? I was I wasn't unconscious. I managed to get back to my feet, but you're definitely dazed. You're definitely confused. And when I got back to my feet, the roar of 20,000 people all cheering for you, going insane. I mean, come on. How could I not go out there in round 4 and fight my heart out? Because they're all cheering, they're supporting you. And that's a wonderful thing. And then sometimes if you've been taken down, you're led on the floor, and you can hear them all chanting, Bisping, or Aspinall, Paddy the Baddy, whatever it is. They're all chanting your name in unison. It is an incredible feeling. And you almost have the strength of 10 men. It's like, no, I am not fucking lying down. I am getting back to my feet and I am getting into this fight. And then on the other side as well, they're going to boo your opponent. Now, true martial artists, guys that are experienced and that have a strong mind, which you need to compete at this level, they're almost, that isn't going to affect them. But some people it does. When you're walking out into hostile territory and people are booing like crazy, it's fucking wild. I remember when I walked out in Australia, when I fought Wanderlei Silva, I thought that the crowd were going to be on my side because there's a lot of British down there, a lot of British expats. And they're all British, let's be honest, you Australians. But no, they were not on my side at all. They were talking a lot of shit. But fortunately, I was able to block that out. But here's where the crowd came in as well, because they were very pro Wanderlei Silva. Me and Wanderlei had a very close fight, and I feel like I legitimately won that fight. But what would happen was, every time Vanderlei would throw a punch, sometimes they wouldn't hit, but they were close. The entire crowd would go like, whoa, they'd all react to punches which wouldn't land. And that can sway a judge. Remember, judges are human beings. They don't have slow-mo, they don't have instant replay, they have just their eyes and their point of view. That's why there's 3 judges, because they all have a different angle. And then sometimes they might see something and it might look like it landed, but it didn't land. But then when the crowd all celebrate and cheer because they thought it landed, yeah, in the judge's mind, that landed. So after that fight, Vanderlei Silva went home the winner, and the judges can go fuck themselves. Just kidding.
Well, Bisping's just a dick.
But of course, listen, I'm not complaining. Having the crowd on your side is an amazing thing. And all those fighters this weekend from the UK, they're going to have tremendous support. Yes, I'm biased, and I know a lot of people are in America and Australia and all over the world that watch this YouTube channel, and I truly thank you all for all the support that you give this channel. It's crazy to think that we've grown so fast. But in the UK, the crowds out there are unbelievable. The support that they have for their own fighters, for the British fighters and the Irish fighters, really is second to none. So all you guys competing out there, representing Ireland, Great Britain, even mainland Europe for that fact, you're all going to have tremendous support. Go out there, soak up every single second of it. Enjoy the moment, because this truly is something incredible that you're going to get to experience. But anyway, there it is. There's a few thoughts on the pros and cons of fighting at home in front of a home crowd, or perhaps in front of a hostile crowd. Anyway, hope you're all well. Take care.